That's why you do it. So the guiding principle for the teacher, according to Arian, is to be open to outcome, not attached to outcome. So I can tell you the principles which underlie the medical condition called addiction. I can teach you everything I know, or that is known, or at least we think we know, on how to prevent it, slow it, stop it, treat it, recover from it. So, and I stack the deck with information. Sometimes it's overwhelming, I know. Stories, pictures, whatever I know that works, and I only give you what works because I've seen it work. And at least myself, if not someone else. So, to ensure the chances of a certain outcome, you will be healthier and less addicted. Now, that doesn't always happen. It's okay. Still people take the class, become even more strung out, knowing this, I can't be attached to the outcome. They have their own journey. Damn it. So, the teacher accesses wisdom, tries to resonate with universal wisdom, which resides in the student. The teacher uses trust and understands the need for detachment, also known as boundaries. So I can't live your life for you. How you live your life is not for me to judge. It's not that I don't care. It's just that it doesn't make sense to care way more about your life than you do by your actions. So this is frequently the dilemma of anyone who's in a codependent relationship. You love the addict or the alcoholic or whatever, or the process addict. You love them, but they are living in a way that is killing the best in them and potentially the best in you. The solution for you to live in an optimal way no matter what they do. And it's difficult to do this, and especially in proximity to them unless you have great inner resources. And so the wisdom way of the teacher is to show you that you have those inner resources by demonstrating themselves, that they have them, or not. Sometimes the teacher is coyote way. Now, coyote in Native American psychological practice creates the universe. And coyote, and creating the universe, also does the stupidest thing that usually gets him killed. Because he creates the universe, he can come back. And he's showing you by doing the stupidest thing, the smart thing to do. So it's a contrary way. The way of the teacher is a practice and trust that the resources exist and the student will access them. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they refuse to see them. And it's interesting when that happens. I actually talked with some person today that, look, you can take a workshop and you can take lots of workshops, but you're already there. Well, why can't I see that? Yeah. Ask yourself, why can't you see that? What are you afraid of? Well, I'm not afraid of anything. Then do it. I see the capability in you. You've demonstrated this. No, I want to take a workshop. Okay. So, trust is the container which holds clarity, objectivity, discernment, detachment. Wisdom is at work when we are open to all options. What this is, in case you were wondering, is a rock crystal dodecahedron. That's a 12-sided figure built of pentagons on a crystal matrix plate. So, five things: clarity, objectivity, discernment, detachment, and wisdom underlying all of them. So clarity, describing what you see clearly. Objectivity, being able to clearly describe it no matter what its relationship is to you, so that you don't cloud your vision. Discernment, noticing that things are different. Discernment is different than discrimination. They're related. So discernment is clearly seeing something is. So the table is different than the chair. They're both on the floor. That's discernment. Discrimination is putting a value judgment on what those differences are. Bad chair, good chair, stupid table, dumb ceiling. Okay? Discrimination, putting a value judgment. You know, like like wine. Some wine is any wine is better than Thunderbird or Red Mountain, or wine that costs $24 a bottle. Not that I drink that stuff, but that's discrimination. Alcohol is alcohol. Trust is the container which holds clarity, objectivity, discernment, detachment. Wisdom is at work when we're open to all options. This is a graphic that's in a church in Oakland. The baptizing of the Ethiopian from Acts. Trust is being comfortable with uncertainty. So accessing universal wisdom by learning how to trust and be comfortable with states of not knowing. Sometimes you can't know, or the knowledge is going to reveal itself slowly. Being patient until clarity is achieved. So as an example, the word confusion. Things are fused. Con means together or with. Things are so together, you can't tell them apart. And that's what's confusing. You can't make the distinction. As an example, we actually talk about this in the treatment class, but there's a term called concretization. So this is a concrete support wall that has been painted white. If it hadn't been painted, what color would it be? Concrete color, which is? Gray. So gray is neither black or white, right? Can you tell that there is sand and rocks? Can you see individual sand and rocks in the concrete? Probably not. Though there is concrete where you can see the individual sand and the rocks. There is, right? So concretization is a stage in a client where they cannot see their feelings. They're all confused. And they'll actually say, I'm confused. Well, what are you confused about? Okay, so until they're able to pick out individual feelings within that mishmash of feelings, you can't necessarily make progress until they're able to, using discernment, pick out individual feelings, and then you can move on those things. Get what I'm saying? So concretization, they can't tell any difference between any feelings. It's a mishmash. And you can basically follow a thread of feeling once they can identify like a single or other feelings. That's why I often go with anger, because it's almost always there. And they don't always want to talk about it. I have anger issues. Yeah, well, you should, based on what happened to you. Okay? Being detached from your fears, i.e. being aware of them, but not necessarily run by them, involves trust. Okay? Because that's part of the uncertainty. We don't like being uncertain. We like knowing stuff. And that uncertainty is a form of fear. What's going to happen? Worry about it when it happens. But pay attention. Because you can see what's going to happen if you're paying attention to what's happening now. With sufficient clarity. So, it's not being about being cold and aloof. It's being present in the position of the silent witness, which is open to what's being said by the still small voice and what is being done and said around you. So if you recall, I think a few weeks back when I was talking about natural mind, they're basically the various forms of literature refer to the spiritual part of a human being as being at least manifest in two ways. The silent witness, which is watching what is going on without comment, and then the still small voice, which might comment, but comment in an optimal way. And you actually have to quiet yourself down enough to be able to hear them, but you did hear. A voice within me said, I shouldn't have done that. And I knew it was right, but I did it anyway. So, you're standing in the middle of this river, and this guy's going to baptize you. Can you swim? Can you swim? Is he going to drown you? How long is he going to hold me down? Some people have abuse memories from this very act, holding you down. Boy, this water is cold. Is this going to hurt? So our relationship with the teacher. So by analogy, since I already did baptism, by analogy, if you're going to learn to basically operate in water and develop a sense of trust, it's good to have a swim teacher, an inner swim teacher or an outer swim teacher, how to swim in the waters of life that change. So flat water, swim laps on the surface, repetitive, self-care, can make you stronger. So basically the idea of doing the same thing over and over that makes you stronger as an exercise. Flat water, meaning there's no currents. It's sanitized. No currents, no waves, no motion. Teaches you how the basic things of how to swim. Hold your breath underwater. Hold your breath. Stroke, basic strokes. Back and forth. So that fear you feel in the deep water, we'll just swim through it. Go back to shallow. Or maybe you like to hang out in the deep water. I like to hang out in the deep water. But, hey, not everybody's cup of tea. So the difference between swimming laps in flat water basically gives you water skills and breath control. Running a river, very popular here in this state, right? Because we got lots of water to do that. Running a river, operating skillfully and safely in chaos. Because life is chaotic. In fact, living systems are chaotic. They change. They change direction unpredictably. Or predictably if you hang out with them long enough to find out which way they go. So, river running, operating skillfully and safely in chaos. Big wave surfing, taking a stand and moving on that stand through chaos safely. Even if you wipe out. Which, if you know how to handle wipeouts, it's okay. Okay, so in river rafting, after you have learned to swim. Personal safety in turbulence. There's an African proverb that says, calm seas do not make skillful sailors. How do you deal with storms? Storms happen. I was looking at a map yesterday on CNN, and it was describing the British Empire. And the British dug the Suez Canal to get all this stuff from their colonies without going around Africa. And Africa is one of the most turbulent water, especially southern Africa, is like one of the most turbulent places on earth to sail. They call it like the Cape of Good Hope. Well, it's Cape of Good Hope because ships get lost there because there's 100-foot waves there. You know, I actually know somebody that was on an aircraft carrier, which, you know, is 100 feet above the water, and, you know, during storms, 100-foot waves would like wash over the deck. Ship made it, but, you know, they was always worried about the ship getting crunched. Yeah, 100-foot wave, sure, they exist in places. So, the British dug the Suez Canal through the Gulf, and all the shipping goes up through there, not around Africa. But before that was dug, the only way to get to the other side of Africa was going through that. So calm seas do not make skillful sailors. Now this, that's about a 60-foot wave there. 40 to 60-foot wave, which Hawaii they measure from the back, not the face. So a 40 to 60-foot wave has maybe 80 to 100 feet worth of face. So we talk about reading water, and we talk about that in river rafting, for example. So if you ever do a float on the Mackenzie or something like that, where there's different types of rapids, is being able to perceive what's below the surface in reading water. So in flat water, you don't have to read the water. You do have to know how to breathe and keep your head in deep water where you can't stand up. In natural bodies of water, you have to see what's coming and being able to respond quickly to changing conditions. And sometimes you can foresee the changes coming and prepare. So for example, in river rafting, and the reason I'm using this as a metaphor is for life, is that in rivers you can see when there's a hump in the water, there's a rock under making the hump. That old adage about still waters run deep. Well, you can tell the depth of the water because it's quiet, or at least there's no rocks within the surface making whitewater. Whitewater rafting is there's rocks, there's drops, there's holes. Usually, definitely at the bottom of a falls, there's holes and there's a force going to be there to suck you under, flip your boat. How do you get yourself out of that particular disaster? When it's predictable. Okay, certain disasters are predictable. Okay, certain things in life are recurring. Get ready for them, right? Albert said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over without changing it.
And that was that. It was an autobiography in 5 chapters.
Right. Portia Nelson piece about, I keep falling into this hole until I take responsibility and see the hole coming. Or, now I walk down another street. Not the same street where the hole is. So I decided to take a risk and throw you another complex metaphor. Might be useful for you. So in the Navajo way, anger is a holy force. This is a shout out to Arlie Naskai, who we were basically working gangs, and he wanted to basically make the distinction between anger management and other forms of dealing with anger. So one of the ways we called this was anger resolution. Because in anger management, they simply just want you to be compliant to the system, which is fine, but it doesn't necessarily deal with your anger. So anger resolution is where you look at where your anger is and dissolve it. So in the Navajo way, anger is a holy force. It has to be honored and transformed, approached with respect and reverence. So, for example, a relative consumed with anger turns into a monster. And we often fear the monsters our children and loved ones become because they've been consumed with anger. They're blind with rage. We notice that phrase. Blind with rage. They can't see their rage. They're consumed by it. So, true story. A man has a recurring dream of his brother's murderer. It reminds him of the video game Doom, which is a point-of-view game in which you take the view of the shooter. He is the shooter in his dream, who kills his brother and one other and manages to shoot a number of other people in his dream, which is like recurring. Takes the point of view of the shooter in Doom. In the dream, which occurs nightly, after the murder, he can hear the thoughts of the monster as he selects targets and who he shoots and who he spares and why. At the trial, certain details of the dream are corroborated by the district attorney. They are facts known only to the shooter and not released to the press before or after the trial.